Hello, explorers. You're watching the Galactic Science Network. You're with Dr. Drake Vellaut today, and we'll be discussing botany and harvesting flora. So the first things first. How would one even get started on their botany journey? You're going to need your harvester tool, which you can see equipped in my third and fourth slot. The harvesting tool is what allows you to harvest the flora, as you will see plenty of during this video. When you harvest any flora, you will receive some byproducts from it. More often than not, the byproducts will be seeds, but as you will see throughout, especially when dealing with some of these different mushroom species on Pyromyces, which is the planet we are on currently, you will receive other byproducts as well, such as salt or ammonia, as you can see right now. Seeds are crucial if you want to be able to replant them for later, which during this session I was gathering for our GUNC Plaza gardens that had the GUNC atrium that was built by Waboba, and then the entire garden, which consisted roughly of about 3,000 different flora plants throughout the entire garden. So that's quite a lot of harvesting. This is just a bit of that harvesting that was done, which was the entire garden was done by multiple GUNC members throughout a roughly 7-hour period. Now we're on Pyromyces, like was saying, conducting these harvesting activities, which may be one of the most dangerous planets for harvesting flora. Now keep in mind this is before the procedural creature update, but it's still one of the more dangerous planets trying to gather the flora, as a lot of the creatures tend to hoard around the different mushroom species, like you just saw over in the distance there. But even though it's the most dangerous planet, you can easily avoid having to engage in combat yourself, as you will see throughout this video. And if you look at the equipment I have slotted, I don't even have any type of weapon, no Omni Blaster, no drones equipped, as I will not need that while harvesting. While I will not engage in combat myself, so I'm not looking for it, that does not mean that some of these spitting roaches, shroom guards, gash hogs, or other creatures won't take matters into their own hands and aggro onto me and attack me. But I can still easily get away from those situations and move on to the next harvesting. So if you're the type of explorer that is not a fan of combat, then botany could be a profession you could find a nice home with. So we talked about needing a harvester, but what are some important next steps to think about, especially looking through a conservation lens so that we don't drive any of these flora species extinct? Understanding the botany skill tree is an important first step toward having a better understanding of how you can actually ensure you get the most out of every flora harvest. This will keep the planet ecosystem healthy while giving you much needed seeds for your flora project. Keep in mind these skill trees are just stubs currently in Star's Reach, as this is a pre-alpha state of the game. The skill yield 1 through 3 are the most important skills when you are looking at harvesting flora. We will discuss this first, and then we will dive into forestry, which is just as important if you are looking to plant the seeds you gathered. The difference is staggering between no skill points in botany versus having at least a yield 2 in botany. So at yield 0 or yield 1, you will be harvesting only a single seed from flora, or a single byproduct if seeds are not guaranteed per harvest. Once you're at yield 2 or 3, that is where you'll start getting 2 seeds per harvest, or 2 byproducts if seeds are not guaranteed. Now, what does this exactly mean? Well, if you take a look at the screen right now, we're bringing up a graphic for some of the research that was conducted a few weeks back that gives more insight on the implications for the lower skill yield harvesting. The main takeaway from this is you can see skill level and the days to extinction. If you look at any of the mushroom species like dark wizards, brimmed bonnets, or the witch's ringlets at skill level 0, those plants would become extinct in only 5 to 6 days if you harvested all these species and then replanted each day subsequently, and then harvested all those, and so on and so forth each day. Now, the assumption we're taking right here is you would be able to collect seeds from planted flora, which currently is not implemented in the game. But if it were, that's how these calculations are taken into effect. It's actually much quicker to extinction if you aren't able to plant, because once you take all those plants, if they don't properly propagate through the random propagation currently in the game, then it's going to even go extinct even quicker. So now, if you look at this same table but examine those species at skill level 3, you're looking at 10 to 18 days before extinction occurs. This is a 2 to 3 fold increase before extinction occurs. So this is a big leap. So having that difference in from a skill yield of 0 to 1 or 2 to 3 is a 2 to 3 fold increase. So that's a big difference when you're talking about gathering flora. And not only are you helping conserve so you don't have to pick as many plants, you're also gathering more seeds. So if you want to plant them later on, your gathering is much more efficient from that side as well. So you don't have to spend as long gathering. So this is significant that Flora does not guarantee a seed drop for. So, which if you're interested in the harvest seed ratio, you can see that in the ratio column. For example, for every dark wizard mushroom harvested at skill level 3, you'll get 0.72 of a seed. So if we extrapolate that out, when you harvest 10 dark wizards on average, you will have 7 dark wizard seeds. So you're not getting a 1-to-1 ratio. You're not picking a dark wizard and getting a dark wizard seed every single time. You're only getting it again about 0.72% of the time, or 72% of the time. So that's something to keep in mind for some of these species. Not everything gives that 1-to-1 ratio, or eventually when you scale up, a 2-to-1 ratio. So those plants are much more in danger of going extinct because you're not getting that 1-to-1 ratio. So the more you harvest, especially at a lower skill level, when you don't have that higher guarantee of getting a seed, it makes it more likely that that plant is going to go extinct. And then no one will be able to plant that anymore. So when you look at that specific scenario, you can also see on this chart, like the glowy rose, that is never going to go extinct in the current system, just because it's a 1-to-1 ratio. As long as you can plant, as long as you replant some of the seeds you pick, and it allows for being able to harvest from planted seeds, it won't go extinct. So just keep that in mind. Some are going to be much easier to keep alive and prevent from going extinct, while others not so much, which a lot of these mushrooms, the brimmed bonnet, the dark wizard, the witch's ringlet, and some of these other mushroom species on Pyromyces definitely don't have that 1-to-1 seed ratio. So hopefully you have a better understanding of why it's important for the sustainability of planet ecosystems to harvest at higher botany skill yield levels. I don't want to bore you with the full research of this paper, but if you wish to learn more about the research conducted, it can be found on GUNC.org, GUNC.org. That's GUNC's official website. That keeps track of a lot of the stuff we do. So feel free to check that out, and it's linked below if you're interested. Now that we know the importance of the botany skill yield, what can we do to ensure we raise it in a quicker fashion? As it's 600 experience in total, which would require lots of flora to be harvested at lower rates, right? In a sense, yes. But there are ways we can better gain knowledge of botany through first-time discovery of new flora species on harvest. That first time you go to harvest a species of flora you have not harvested before, it will give you 10 experience versus the normal 1 experience that you keep seeing pop up on this the video over and over again on each of these harvests. So if we take a look at the graphic coming up now, you're able to see when you make that first discovery, you get that 10 experience, which is a huge increase. So if you're looking to increase your experience quicker, it's much more beneficial to hop planets and gather more of those unique new discovery plants instead of just staying on Pyromyces, where you're going to only be able to get 20-ish new discoveries. Going to another planet, you're going to be able to hit 70, 75. So you would just purely get that 600 experience based on new discoveries alone. Whereas if you stay on a single planet, you're going to maybe discover 200 experience worth, maybe 300 experience if you're on the more Gaiamar or Rodin 4 that have more plants available. That's what you're going to be able to do. So it's key to understand that portion of it. If you want to go faster and get more of that experience up so you get those higher yields so you can be more sustainable, and be able to gather more yield for seeds so you don't have to spend as much time, then just keep that in mind for leveling up. You don't have to stay on the same planet to do it. Go to the different planets, because all these different planets have different flora species. Some of them are similar across planets, but there's a lot of new ones on different planets. So you can so you saw that in the video, and in reality, going to any 2 planets you choose is going to get you close to that 600 experience. You don't have to go to all of them. 2 will likely get you. If you go to 3, you're going to hit that just on the new discovery side of things. Now, it doesn't hurt, like, as you're going through this, when you see flora that you enjoy, that you like, that you want to pick it. Like, 1 experience, that's going to add up over time. And that's kind of the way, as throughout this video, like, a lot of the stuff I'm focusing on is some of the daisies. So I'm looking for the daisies because I know I want to create kind of a path of daisies over in GUNC Plaza. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the mushrooms because, again, the seed ratio's much lower on those. So every time I see those, I'm going to try and get them. And so it doesn't hurt grabbing those. It's just keep in mind, especially when harvesting like the dark wizards and stuff like that, it would definitely be recommended to get your skill yield to at least 2 before you start harvesting those, else you're going to have a much lower yield ratio at that point. So now what about planting these seeds that you've harvested? So you've gone through all the trouble, you've harvested all these seeds, you spent however long you've spent doing this, but now what's next? You have these seeds, but you want to actually be able to plant them. You want to create a garden, you want to create some beautification project. So now what do we do at this point? And so that is where the forestry skill comes in. In the forestry skill tree, there's a skill that allows you to plant seeds called tree planting. And you can see that in this graphic that just came up. But how do we get experience in the forestry skill tree? Now, this is going to require the Xylo Slicer tool. which will allow us to cut down trees, which also will allow us to gather seeds for trees that we'll be able to plant eventually as well. So we only need 25 experience to be able to start planting seeds of any type of flora, and that's trees included. So choosing some trees that you may want to plant would be a great option when you're choosing to figure out how to cut down 25 trees. And remember, if you can, since tree yield is much higher than flora yield, try replant some of these once they're healthy and you unlock the skill. So you can cut down lots more trees and it's much easier to replant them. So it's less of a worry from an extinction or an ecosystem side of things. But again, be sure to try and replant some of the seeds, because if you have 10, 20 people all doing this, you're going to start depleting the planet, and the planet health is going to go down. So now that you have this understanding of these steps, you can finally start planting once you unlock that tree planting skill. So the next question is, how do you actually start planting? So there's really two options you can do to start actually being able to plant. And you can use either the harvester or the xylo slicer. Both of them have two modes currently, and the harvesting and seed planting modes, which can be switched between using the tab to toggle between the modes. I personally like using the harvester tool to plant, as it uses less energy per plant of each seed, which allows me to plant more efficiently. As you can see on the right side of my screen, I use two harvesters to help with the energy efficiency of the harvesting, so I can more efficiently gather seeds from flora. So every harvest takes away energy from your harvester, and eventually, especially when you get some of these groupings of plants that are dense, you're using a lot of energy going back and forth. And it's just a small little efficiency thing, but when you're picking plants over and over and over again, it definitely helps having that second harvester currently in game. And so you'll see me switching between my both harvester slots 3 and 4 a fair amount throughout this video, if you haven't already. Once you are in your seed planting mode, you're one step closer to being able to plant. The last bit of information you will need is your Q&E key tool functionality. So most of the tools in Stars Reach have a Q&E functionality to them. For the harvester, Q&E will cycle you through all the seeds that are available in your inventory that you can plant. So once you start using Q&E to rotate through all the seeds in your inventory and you find the seed that you want to plant, you can stop there, position yourself where you want to place the plant, and then left click. That's going to place your plant down on the ground, and you can repeatedly do it, just depending on how you're trying to do it. If you're trying to do a garden, you may want to hit T to kind of get you in free cursor mode, or to be in your locked cursor mode. Just depends on how you can more easily maneuver where you want to plant things. So that's more of a personal preference. I use both depending on the situation I'm in. So keep in mind for a few things that if you left click and something's not working, keep an eye on the messages up at the top of your screen. And you may see certain things saying that it's not flat enough to plant, or you're not able to plant in this soil. And so you can see that in this video that just came up on the screen, and you can see I'm not able to plant because it's not flat enough. Or if you look over here, it's like I'm trying to plant in a type of ground that is not soil. So keep that in mind. If you're like, why is this not working? You need to make sure it's flat, you're in the right soil to be able to plant. Just keep those in mind. And as you're going through and actually planting. So, along with running low on your harvester energy, that would be the other side of things on why you're not able to plant. Is so just like you're not able to harvest when you run out of that energy on your harvester, same thing goes for planting. And if you're mass planting, you'll run out of that harvester energy on a quick basis. So keep that in mind. To plant on flat surfaces, plant in correct soil. Peat is commonly available on the planets right now. So keep some distance between flora when planted also. With the newer updates, you can't, especially with trees when they're there. Well, actually, you can see right here. When we're looking at, I just harvested a few things and nothing was showing up in my inventory. And so one thing to keep in mind is when you max out your inventory, you may not be able to harvest some of the things, and it kind of looks like a glitch. The other reason for this to happen is you're harvesting planted flora by other players, because as mentioned kind of earlier, when you plant, you gain no seed yields or any type of byproducts from planted stuff as of right now. So just keep that in mind. If you see some of those scenarios, that's what's kind of going on. So back to what we were kind of talking about. So one last thing when it comes to planting that you have to remember is because the trees have a radius to them, so you can't just stack trees on trees and make walls of trees anymore. So when you're planting flora, it's best to put the actual small flora down first because they have a smaller radius for where you can plant things, whereas the trees have bigger radiuses. So if I place a tree down, like in this video, it has a huge radius to it. So you can see as I'm scooting out and trying to find a spot to plant this, it's a lot harder. But if I plant the flora first and then put the tree down, I can put it a lot closer. So again, this may be fixed eventually, but at least for right now, if you want to kind of efficiently place your gardens and your beautification projects, this is a good way of doing it right now. So if there are trees around, like just cut them down and then replant them. So that way you can get the most, so you're not with these holes of area and soil that you just can't plant in because of that radius. So that's right there for now. So currently planting trees and planting your smaller flora plants function differently. So the small flora, at least right now, it instantaneously grows. So you plant that down and it grows. This may or may not change with the future farming update. But when trees are planted, they start as a small sapling, and over time they will fully mature. So you can see in this video that comes up, we're planting trees. And you can see the process of it going from that small sapling to full maturity. Now there are different things that you can help speed up this process, like a helix, which you can see. You can speed up the growth process with that helix beam. Now this can be a slow process if you're trying to grow multiple trees in a close proximity, but there's another item that we can use to kind of help out this when you have that mass of trees that you want to kind of grow at once, and that's the growth pod. And so if you take a look at this video, the growth pod allows you to grow any trees in its radius all at once. This greatly speeds up the growing process, and that growth pod lasts for about 2 minutes from what I've seen. The downside is it does require 10 plastic and 15 tier 3 metal. So, which plastic can be crafted once you have crafted oil, which requires shale or wood to craft for the first time, which then unlocks the plastic recipe, which requires oil, and the tier 3 metal can most abundantly be found inside asteroids. And look for like manganese. That's probably the easiest one to identify and look for. So it's up to you how you wish to go about growing trees. Both options have their pros and cons. The growth, I mean, you still have to make the helix also. So we just kind of get lucky right now as we're in the testing parts of the game. We start out with the helix, but that's not how it's going to be. So you're just going to have to pick your poison and choose how you want to be able to grow things, or just let them naturally grow. It doesn't take too long. You're talking 5-10 minutes maybe to get it fully matured, depending on the tree species and stuff like that. So you could just plant, move on, start harvesting more, start planting more small, or like there's lots of different things you can do. You don't need to speed up the growth. And again, all of the stuff we're talking about, it's the current implementation in game right now. So things are always subject to change. Things are moving. Stars Reach community is amazing. The devs are amazing. They take a lot of the feedback we give and they actually implement that stuff. And so they've delayed like stuff like farming because the community came out and started showing what we could do with farming and all the planting and stuff like that. And so it got delayed due to stuff like that. So they're really good at taking some of this feedback. So as you're doing some of this stuff, especially the stuff you're passionate about, like make sure you bring it up in the Discord, make sure you bring up the feedback, so that we can make the best game possible. So now, hopefully this all helped you better understand how to get started in the botany side of the game and learning how to harvest with an ecological mindset in mind. And then be able to eventually plant those seeds down so you can create those beautiful gardens, those beautiful beautification projects, being able to add a little bit to your building to be able to help make it look just that little bit different to set it apart from other buildings. So now we're going to move on to another couple of topics that people have asked me about in regards to botany. So one of the questions is about how the peaceful aspect of harvesting flora is. So literally right now we're getting attacked by, look like some spitting roaches. So I'm still harvesting. Yeah, I'm getting down in health a little bit. But it's like as soon as I get to a certain point, it's like, okay, I can kind of move out of there. Like there's enough plants on the planet that I don't have to specifically go right up to those creatures and disrupt them and eventually cause them to attack me. So unless there's like a dark wizard there that it's like, okay, I need to grab that, I'm gonna hop in, grab it, and hop out. But throughout a lot of this video, there's not been a lot of times where even they've aggroed to me. Granted, I've had a lot of time in game, and so I know kind of some of the routes they take and just avoidance measures just because I've been around the map hundreds and hundreds of times. But as you start harvesting, you'll kind of start to understand where creatures are, where they start to group, and then you can kind of avoid those areas if you don't want to do anything at all. So just keep that in mind as you're doing this, but you don't have to attack anything as of now. Now the creatures update makes the creatures a little bit more crazy, especially on Zeraxa, but like you can still avoid things. Like if you're getting attacked, just fly away. Like you have your grav mesh, just get away from the situation. You don't have to engage in the combat if all you want to do is harvest flora and do stuff of that nature. And like as mentioned before, I don't even have a combat weapon equipped, and I do this all the time, so you don't need that. So just keep that in mind. And Pyromyces is definitely one of the more dangerous plants for harvesting Flora, because your dark wizards, those brimming bonnets, like as you've seen through, there's a lot of the spitting roaches and the shroom guards around them. So, but can still easily, didn't die a single time in this entire video. So just keep that in mind if you are wondering, like, can I do this without having to engage in combat? And the answer is 100% yes. So, like, the shroom guards will come and attack you. And especially the shroom guards, like, it'll be a little bit hard to get away if they get too close to you, because of the explosions currently. It kind of, like, stuns you a bit for just a brief second. But one thing to keep in mind, if you're at full health, you can just let those shroom guards hit you and it's not going to kill you. At least as of procedural creature update. Still have to do some more testing on that, as this video was made prior to that update, and we're getting ready to jump in and do more research on that, which you'll probably see something come out sometime in the future about the new update and all the new creatures that are available now in game. So if you have the spitting roaches, they're a little bit more, they're not going to come and blow themselves up. They're going to stay attached to you until you get out of the vicinity. They're also a little bit easier to dodge. Oh, and if we look here, we actually get to see a meteorological event, which is something we've been tracking, which, just as a side note, these are really cool events that happen and kind of like change the world. These are smaller meteors, but like just the immersion, the seasons and skies update, just with the skyboxes, with these events, like, it just adds so much more realism to the game, and just add that immersion factor. And so it's just like I'm out here gathering Flora, harvesting Flora, and then all of a sudden there's a meteor event that happens. It's just really cool to see that stuff happen in game. So back to our current topic, when you, depending on different things, you have to understand a very important fact when you're engaging these stuff. Like, some of the times you've seen me like get to half health, maybe a quarter health. You have to be very careful, because if you haven't got to the point where you were in a camp recently that someone put down, or you went back to the portal, that's how you save in game. So like, if I go to a portal and sit there, it saves my inventory. So that's huge, because if you then die and you haven't saved in a while at one of those camps or the portal, like, you're going to lose all of that and it's going to be dropped on ground. So when you do that, your death marker will show up. And so it's very important to understand that if you die a second time without picking up your items from that death marker, that first death marker is gone, and all the items lost are gone with it. So that's just currently how it works. They may change that eventually, but that's currently how it works. So if it's very important that if you're worried about dying, make sure to visit homesteads or camps around the map. You'll just need to step in them to save your items. And if you do die with lots of seed, you need to make a beeline right for your body, and then get out of there. Don't wait to grab items, because if you die before grabbing them, like I said, that first death marker and those items will be gone. So get right to your spot, make sure you're full health, grab your death marker so you can grab those seeds that you are harvesting, and then get back out of there. So on those times, it's when I do die and it happens like that, and it's been a while, because like in this video, didn't go, I don't think, to one save point. So it was a little bit risky doing this, but again, I've done this a lot, and I'm very cognizant once I get to a certain health that I just get out of there. So that's something you'll learn as you go throughout, and whatever you're comfortable with. Some people may, as soon as they start taking damage, will get out of there, which is perfectly fine. Like, if you don't want to engage in the combat, just get out of there. There's going to be more flora you can pick elsewhere on the planet. So it's just, as you get more experience, it'll just make it easier and easier. And so, like, I've spent over at least 50 hours just harvesting on these planets. So it's learning the patterns of the creatures, learning how much damage you can take, so that you can safely not die. And if you do die, it's not a big deal. Just know you need to not try and harvest. Like, go right to that death marker, grab it, and then you're good to go. And then if you die again after you grab it, repeat the same process. Another topic we're going to talk about is, which we actually kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, is when you're harvesting flora and you don't receive a byproduct, which we'll kind of just rehash a little bit, because this was one of the most confusing things for me, because sometimes it's gone on for a little bit where I'm like, oh, I just realized that I'm not harvesting stuff. It's like, how long has this been going on? Like 5 minutes? So it's just like little bugs, because again, remember, this is pre-alpha, and so some things may be harder to kind of see and determine, but it happens so unfrequently that it's not really a big thing. But it's just one of those things just to keep an eye on, because again, don't want you to waste your time on harvesting things and realizing you're not actually getting anything. So sometimes, hopefully, like farming updates like this will make things better on this side of things. But another reason, because if someone's planted that down, you're not going to be able to harvest anything. Hopefully Farming Update changes that. But as of right now, you plant something, it can't get picked up. So that's kind of one way to notice. Some ones out in the wild, it's probably other things, because like it's likely not placed by a player, but it's hard to know for certain. But when it's actually part of a garden, like, try to avoid picking those, because it's going to be literally no benefit to you. You're not going to get any seeds from it. And you're going to be destroying someone's hard work that they spent gardening and however long it spent them to harvest that stuff. So just be kind to other players. They spend a lot of time, just like you're spending time in games. So you're not gaining any benefit from it. So just keep that in mind. Another way, we talked about inventory being full. When you pick a lot of these plants, you're going to fill up your inventory. And that's just with the current system. Eventually, they're going to be adding encumbrance in there and stuff like that. So you'll really start noticing some of that stuff. But currently, you're still going to be filling up your inventory, keeping an eye on that, so that when you start picking things and you don't see that you gathered anything, just check your inventory real quickly and see how that, if it's full, delete some of your items or go and plant some of them. And the last thing, being unable to harvest flora, is it can be due to a bug, which you can F11 in game or via the official Sarge Reach Discord to report that bug. Which sometimes the mushrooms have been bugged for a bit, but they've been fixed more recently. So just keep that in mind, that it can happen. Just report that bug. So another topic is seasons. So seasons changes affects how flora look. During times such as winter, they can be harder to identify because color can be gone from them. The flowers, leaves are more sparse, while in spring, many of the flora are very vibrant in color and can be easily spotted. The time of day also can affect how easy it is to identify. Now, these are all opinions of mine, I've done it a lot, and I definitely, harvesting during night is a lot more difficult than day. So, like, doing nighttime during winter gathering is by far the most difficult for hunting for specific flora species, especially smaller ones. While doing it during springtime and during the daytime, it's the easiest to spot flora from a distance. So just keep that in mind as you start your botany journey and start to find your favorite flora. And there are always exceptions to the rules, like dark wizards or glowy roses shine really bright in the night time. So that's potentially a good time to go looking for those bioluminescent flora. My favorites currently are definitely the dark wizards, the dragon leaves, and the elephant ear. They just stunningly beautiful flora. Just love them. So with the seasons update, we also got the first look at what farming will potentially start to look like. We can see the regional climate UI in the top right corner that you've seen pretty much this entire time on this video. It's locked right now, but at least we kind of see them starting to add some stuff in. We can also check the pH level of the soil, like here. If you look at the video that just popped up, you're able just to check the soil by just pointing your harvester at the ground and just seeing the soil. Again, it's going to be something implemented with farming more so maybe planting flora, it's going to have to require you to be in specific pH level soil for you to be able to plant certain flora. So like you can see 4.5 pH level and then 6.0 over here. So it's one of those things that will be interesting to watch, and we'll definitely be doing more research on that. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but just wanted to let you know GUNC is tracking all the species of flora via the Crimson Watch on our gunc.org website. If you ever have questions on where to find different flora or what they look like, this is a great resource I use on a yearly basis when I'm trying to figure out where a specific flora can be found. If there are any questions about botany, feel free to drop them down in the comments and we will try to get you answers to them. And if you have other topics you would like to see our different researchers at GUNC cover, let us know in the comments or on our Discord and we will try and put more segments together. Thank you for joining me today on our botany journey. The GSN Galactic Science Network is just starting and more content will be coming in the future. The GSN is a GUNC-sponsored neutral broadcasting network providing you with all your science needs in the Stars Reach universe. We hope you have a great rest of your day, explorers. Please feel free to subscribe, like, and share if you liked the GSN segment. GUNC and GSN appreciate your support as we continue along our scientific journey. Have a great day, explorers.